Innocent Magambi formed an organisation in 2006 in Malawi called There Is Hope, with the aim of helping refugees to achieve their full potential as human beings. I spoke with them to find out exactly how that came about.
So, Innocent, your story is that you are actually the creator of There Is Hope in Malawi. How did it come about? Because it's a facility for refugees, but you yourself are a refugee.
Yes, I said There Is Hope in 2006. And I mean, the story of There Is Hope is my story because I was born a refugee and grew up a refugee, and I've lived in many refugee camps, and Dzelaka was my last, I hope. I thought of starting an organization that will support both refugees and the host community to thrive together, because many times the needs of refugees are not known properly by people who have the heart of helping. So I thought it's important for me to define what refugees need, and that is a hand up, not always a handout. I share the same similar stories, similar paths with so many refugees. When the genocide in Rwanda happened, they went to Congo. When the war came to Congo, they went to Tanzania. Some had to walk for many, many months through Congo to Angola and then to Zambia. So it's a common journey. It's a journey that many refugees, unfortunately, in Africa have had to go through. Yeah, currently the numbers that we get from United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, they're suggesting that the camp is about 48,000, and the majority of those are from east of DRC because of the unrest that continues that side. To equip these people who have potential so that they can live on themselves, or to think about the future, because refugees are not only stuck in the present dilemma, they also have a future to think about. I really need to come up with a plan, an organization that will holistically look at a refugee as an individual. I remember correctly, like we started with about $50, giving two women. One was a widow, another one was a single mother. We gave them $50 and they started the business. And what they were doing, was simply trading, like buying some food commodities from a nearby village into the refugee camp. And within 6 months, they had enough money to pay us back and for them to continue with their business. So instead of getting their money back, we asked them to identify two other people of similar situation and teach them how the loan works and give them the money, and they will be the accountability partners of the new people. And that's how they started, and that $50 went to several women.
Have you built the There Is Hope organization then on a foundation of women, or is it mixed women and men?
It's a mix. In the beginning, we relied more on women because their stories are straight, but men would tend to have several stories and they are not always reliable. But the foundation really was on women. We saw success. So when we branched into what we're currently doing, which is more of providing skills, creating job opportunities, then the mixing up started now coming. But even if the majority of the skills that we are providing currently are construction-related trades, but we have found a way to bring in women and break that mentality, especially here in Africa, where they say that women cannot do what men do. With my experience of living in several refugee camps, I would frankly tell you that without a proper collaboration between the refugee camp and the host community, the villages surrounding the refugee camp, the refugees will never survive. And the issue of women, I mean, we have understood that women are, like once you empower them, they have the power to drive the economy, to change the lives of our society. This pandemic, when it hit, I thought it was coming to undermine the work that we have really labored for many, many years, and all the sacrifices. I just didn't know what to do. But one of our supporters in the US, she recovered from COVID-19 and she bounced back and she says, Innocent, you need to do ABCD. You need to to stop what you are currently doing and look into how to protect the people, the villages, the community that you're working with. And she sent in, $62,000, and that was amazing. So then we started planning. We started preparing the communities by providing hand washing facilities and soaps to elderly communities, both in the refugee camp and outside, and food supplies. Many people had several ideas. Some were saying, no, this is a white, like as if white people have crafted COVID-19 to kill all Black people. We were at the forefront because of the trust that the community has given us. We are working with the government because, There Is Hope is a tiny organization. If you look at, the size of the refugee camp and the international organizations that are contracted by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees to supply support to refugees. So we didn't want to isolate ourselves. We work in partnership with the Ministry of Health, but also United Nations High Commission for Refugees, but other key players. So it's a united front. When you look at the setup of refugee camps, refugees, they live on lockdown. If you want to leave the refugee camp, going outside of refugee camp, you have to have a permission. So now we were worried because one, natural lockdown of the refugee setup in the world where limitations in terms of movement, and then this, general lockdown, I couldn't really figure out how will people survive. The few weeks have given us ample time to really plan. Should the lockdown come, what do we do? Especially we are looking at people living with severe disability and those who have chronic diseases, elderly. So we are fundraising to be able to provide food items should the lockdown come. Hand sanitation is really crucial. So even when we among other things that we do, we teach people how to keep safe and wash their hands. We have provided soaps, but we are grateful that Dzelaka, the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, has done a great job.
And how do you actually communicate with everyone?
Yeah, the easiest way is using WhatsApp. So I have about 130 leaders on my WhatsApp group. So I communicate with them and they disseminate the information. And then also we use the radio. There is a community radio in the refugee camp run by the UN. So we use that to communicate with people, but largely and easily WhatsApp is the best. Now, the current laws in Malawi, they don't allow refugees to get employment, but they allow, people are able to work as volunteers. So what we have seen, because the collaboration between the Malawians and the refugees, when they graduate, they form bonds between them. And when a Malawian secures a contract, they usually call their refugee friends to come and work with them. They may earn a little lower salary. I would like to see the laws, not only in Malawi, globally, change to allow refugees to work, to allow refugees to move, just like any other human beings. Humanity, we are really good at restricting the movement of other people. So I really hope and just dream to see that removed so that refugees, wherever they are, do anything that they're able to do, compete anywhere and be able to, to access the market, especially in Africa. I just don't understand, why do we have African Union and yet African refugees are still, restricted in what they can do? To me, I don't understand. Yes, so people can contact us through our website. They can go to our website and donate. They can also support us through GoFundMe. There is a link, and they can also follow us on our social media. There is Hope Malawi on Facebook, Instagram. We really, we need support to be able to do what we feel like is helping the communities and building the future of many.
One of the things I was struck by on your website was a sentence somewhere that said that poverty is not necessarily a lack of material things. It can often be a lack of vision.
Thank you. I appreciate for your support.
I was particularly taken with the focus on the role of women and of the African Union in that interview.
Focus on women. The charity built their foundation on women because they believe that women have the power to drive the economy and change lives in society. That perspective is quite unique and quite taboo in Africa. The importance of lobbying. The African Union, or the potential role that the African Union might play in changing the laws to allow Africans to live and work as first-class citizens in any African nation. Fighting fake news. In terms of communication, the focus of fake news wasn't really all that different from the Western world, was it? The virus was invented by white people to kill black people. In the West, it was the Chinese to achieve economic dominance. Faith in God means that the virus won't touch you. Is this Boris Johnson's attitude of stoicism and Britishness in the face of this plague? And finally, even in a crisis, communications finds a way. The choice of communications channels, communication by WhatsApp and through the community leaders, who in turn disseminate information to their own groups, and also by radio, which is run by the UN. Plenty of food for thought in that interview. Essential online training solutions for communications professionals. The PR Training Academy.